Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Gift of Gab. I am your host, Gab. I am happy to be back with y'all following that super great episode that we did last week, or yeah, like a few weeks ago. Big Black and Ugly, my girl Kyra wrote her book. That was a fantastic episode, and I appreciate for everybody who tuned into that. We have another great episode coming up today with a young lady that I was introduced to by my barber. Shout out to B Will. This young lady's name is Cydni, and she has a powerful story that we're going to talk about today. So, Miss Cydni, before we get started, let me apologize because I'm country, right? I'm from the South. So if you hear me say Cydni, then I promise, I promise this, I ain't trying to do it. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Look, I'm from the South too. I'm from Alabama, so
That's
I get
better
it.
than me, and I probably
Yeah.
better than you, though. I promise. Well, welcome to the show. I'm super glad to have you. No, it's been a while since we met, and we've been trying to kind of make things work. So I'm very, very happy to be here with you. I always like to get things kicked off by just having you introduce yourself to the audience. Let them know who Miss Cydni is.
So, all right. So my name is Cydni. Originally from Alabama. I've been in Florida about 10 and a half years now. I currently work as a manager for T-Mobile. Come see me.
Yes,
That's my little plug.
shameless plug. I like it. I like it. So,
So,
so do you have any
literally, I've
kids
been
or
working.
anything, or kind of how you stay in
So,
life?
so I do have an 11-year-old son. His name is Ethan. And if you know Ethan, you know Ethan. That's all I can say about him.
All the kids are cousins. All the kids. Well,
That's all I can say about Ethan.
thank you so much for
But
being
yeah,
here. So we will go ahead and get started now. This episode, I'm calling "Finding Freedom," right? Because your story is definitely one of finding freedom. After having been in an abusive relationship for over about 10 years, am I correct there? All right,
right.
awesome. So, just to kind of get things kicked off here, I want to go back to kind of the beginning. How did you meet this young man? How did y'all story begin?
Oh, oh wow. Okay, so from the beginning. So I went to college at the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, back in 2001. And so at that same time, my parents were going through a divorce. It was the start of their divorce. I was very like growing up in school. I was always like so proud that my parents were together because so many of my friends, all their parents were divorced or parents never been married, and so I just always I don't know. It's kind of like I wore like a badge on my
Yes,
chest. My
absolutely.
parents are
Yes,
married still,
I can
so
understand
I
that.
just be so proud of
Hmm.
that. So I had very involved parents. Like they was at every activity. Like they didn't miss anything. And I actually have very young parents too. My parents are only 17 years older than me.
Okay.
And so they were just always very involved. So senior year in high school, boom, separation. They didn't, parents never really argued in front of me and my sister, so we didn't know where it came from. So kind of clueless. So like I was super heartbroken because me and my dad were best friends. And so I go into my freshman year of college, super depressed, don't really know, mental health was not, no one was talking about it back then like they are now. So I didn't know how to like express my feelings. I didn't even know what I was feeling actually. So I used to just sit in my dorm room and just sit
Yeah.
there. Wouldn't go to class, known to be a straight A student, but couldn't go to class, just sitting there looking at the wall. So I remember this girl in my dorm. So she invited me to church one day. So I wasn't raised in church at the time. Really couldn't tell you too much about church, but I knew like the
Right.
basics. That's about it. So so she invited me to church, and so I declined it so many times. And finally, like I was like, you know what? Maybe that's where I should
Yeah.
go. Because when I see church on TV, when people are sad, they go to the church. From what I thought it
Yeah.
was. So I started going to the church that she went to. So as I'm starting to go into the church, probably, I was going on and off for probably like a year. And like after that year, I remember the pastor like put me to the side and he was like, what's going on with you? Like you just seem down. And in that moment, I told him what was going on, why I was, sad, why I couldn't focus. And so he was like, well, I'm going to introduce you to someone. someone who you can just kind of hang out with, like maybe bring you some kind of laughter. And lo and behold, he's like, I'm gonna introduce you to his brother,
Mhm.
and his brother is my ex-husband. So
Okay.
yes,
Mhm.
so that's how I started.
Okay.
Things were pretty
Mhm.
good for maybe about a year.
Mhm.
Things are really good. I think I was feeling that feeling of maybe acceptance because there was so much going on with my
Yeah.
parents and their divorce. It was a nasty divorce. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess this whole church thing is working. We go to the church and I was actually feeling
Yeah.
good. Um, so dating this guy, so for about a year after dating him, I remember at the time, we were the same age, but at the time, like he was going to like GED classes. And, I was a freshman in college going, well, after this time, I was a sophomore in
Okay.
college. And at this moment, I remember I was going to drop him off at his GED classes and I had to go to class.
Mhm.
So I remember on the way to drop him off to his GED classes, he was like, I'm not going. And I'm like, what do you mean you're not going? I said, because you're going to do something because the way I was raised, okay, you didn't graduate high school, fine, but you're going to get something if you're going to date
Yeah.
me. So you got to go to class. And I got to go to class. So I can't take you all the way back home and make it to my
Right.
class. And so that just turned into like a back and forth. So I go to my dorm room, and before you know it, that's the time we still had cordless phones. I remember he took the cordless phone and launched it straight at my
That's
face.
exactly okay. Thank you for the segue into
Mm-mm.
my next question. So y'all got introduced by basically by way of the pastor. The pastor introduced you to the brother, and then the brother introduced you to him. So
No, the pastor introduced me. My ex husband is the pastor's
oh,
brother.
okay. I'm sorry. So
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
Yes.
Man. Okay. So, woo, all right. Let me regain my composure right there. Cause see, okay. Pastor, woo, Lord. Okay, so
Girl.
I know you just mentioned the cordless phone situation, but before that first physical act of violence, thinking back now, do you recall some of the signs that you were probably ignoring that he was violent before he became physical with you necessarily?
Yes. And it's so crazy because the signs weren't even with me that I
Mm-hmm.
saw. The signs were I saw how he talked to his mom.
Mm.
And I remember I thought it was super weird because I grew up like kind of
Yeah.
sheltered, super daddy's girl. So there were just certain things I just wasn't used to
Yeah.
seeing. And disrespecting your parents is something I definitely wasn't used to
Yeah.
seeing. And so I can remember just seeing him like just yelling at his mom, and I could never. And so, and it was like normal, and she wouldn't say anything about it. It was just like she would just do it, he say. And I saw how the pastor talked to the mom, and I'm just like, hmm.
Wow.
So now, but I didn't really notice that those were red flags until
Yeah.
later
Hindsight,
on. So
hindsight is
yeah,
2020. Hindsight is 2020.
yes.
So if you can, because Gift of Gab is a safe space, take us again
Hmm.
through that moment where the first thing happened, where he threw that cordless phone at you, and think about and tell us about what you were thinking or feeling in that moment.
So when it happened and he threw the like, let's even go back to I've never even had a verbal altercation with a man or anybody because I was always just a friendly girl and just never got into it with
Yeah,
people. And so I was already taken back just by a man yelling at
yeah,
me.
yeah.
And so when he threw the phone, I was just stuck. I just froze.
Mm.
Like I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do in that moment. And so I just remember he threw the phone. My roommate was in the dorm as well. Well, we was like in an
Okay.
apartment, so she was in her room, and she was like, Cydni, like, what's going on? And I told her what was happening, and then immediately, and it's so weird because I didn't realize this till later on when I really understood this. He immediately flipped it around as if he was the victim,
Mm.
and I remember that moment, like he started crying.
Wow.
Oh, she won't take me
Yeah.
home.
Mm.
Can you just take me home? This is what he's saying to my roommate.
So he
And I remember
it
at
on
that
you like you were the cause of his
quick.
violence, of his act of rage.
Mm-hmm.
It was not him taking responsibility. It was you.
It was
So
me.
what? How did it progress from there? Actually, let me start here. Let me go back because that was
Mm-hmm.
my next question was how did it progress. But I have a follow up question. So coming from the lifestyle that you came from, you didn't see that growing up. You didn't experience that type of energy from anybody. What made you
Mm-hmm.
stay after that moment?
So after that moment, again, parents going through a nasty
Mhm.
divorce. I didn't know who to tell. I didn't know what to do,
Mhm.
who to say something to. Couldn't really go to my parents, so they got their own thing going right now. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll go to the pastor. That's what I see in the movies. People go talk to their
Yeah.
pastors. I mean, yeah, the pastor was the brother, but I was like, let me just go to the
Yeah.
pastor. So I go to the
Mhm.
pastor. I tell him what
Mhm.
happened. He immediately, was showing a sense of anger that he was upset about it and that he was going to take care of it and do something about it.
Mhm.
And so I don't know what happened after that. I to this day don't know if he had a conversation with his brother. I don't know, but I do remember later on him coming back to
Mhm.
me and kind of like sitting us down, saying, "Okay, y'all need to work this out.
Wow.
Like, not Cydni, you need to leave
Yeah.
him, focus
Yeah.
on your schoolwork. Y'all need to just work this out." So and that was yeah.
Wow. Okay. So my next question was, how did it progress from there? How like how did he, did things calm down for a while or did he get worse? And if so,
Worse, worse.
how did things progress worse?
It got worse. It went from him, hitting me that one
Mhm.
time to him like kind of feeling himself a little bit and started. That's when the cheating
Mhm.
started. That's when the disrespecting me and talking to me any kind of way
Mhm.
started. And then just and the beatings just progressed and progressed. It just never stopped. When he realized that one time he got away with it, it didn't stop.
It didn't stop. And
Mm-mm.
so you had this going on, you're dealing with his insecurities, you're dealing with his rage.
Right.
How did you hide it? Or did you hide
Oh,
it?
I had I
How are you doing this? I apologize.
I hit it.
Mhm.
Oh, I hit it in so many different ways. It depends on where the mark was on me. There was times, I fell down the steps. I've had some of the craziest stories. Or I just wear like long sleeve shirts and different things like that. Or I just wouldn't go to church that Sunday. It was always
Right.
something. But
Go ahead. Mhm.
like the entire time it was happening, and I think this is why sometimes it was kind of hard for me to get out of initially, is because not only did his brother knew what was going on, his mama knew what was going on, the first lady of the church knew what was going on, and so no one ever. And like, I'm 19 years old at the
Mhm.
time. Like I said, I was sheltered, so I didn't really know how to get out of my own. But I also had all these adults around
Right.
me who were not having me get, was not helping me get out of it. The mama was saying it was my
Right.
fault. It was always
There's always
something.
something. So, and
Hmm.
if you are not comfortable sharing here, but I always like to keep
Hmm.
it real on the gift of gab, and I like to you know um really dig deep. Um, would you mind sharing, one of the experiences you had with him outside of like the phone, like one of those memorable moments where, it was just I don't know what, however you want to share it. I don't know the
Hmm.
best way to put it, but I really want women to hear the magnitude of what you experience. Because this is not just a surface level conversation. This is
Hmm.
a this is what I went through. I really want people to be able to understand where what you had to deal with.
I think one of the moments that is so memorable that I can still smell it.
Mm.
I can still smell the environment. So I remember back in 2006, he was cheating on me with this girl, and my first time like really experiencing somebody cheating on me. And I remember he was at his mom's house at the time, and he knew that I still liked him and I was still like wanting him. So he was kind of taking advantage of the fact that,
Yeah.
basically he got this girl over here, that girl over
Yeah.
there. So I remember he called me to his mom's house. He was like, "Hey, my mom needs a ride to work. Can you take her to work?" And so at the time, it was just like anything to be able to like be in his presence, I'm gonna do it. And he knew it
Yeah.
too. So I go to his mom's house. His mom isn't there. And I said, "Well, where's your mom?" And he goes, "Oh, she already got a ride to work." I was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And he goes, "Oh, I just wanted to see you." So immediately I kind of fall into
Yeah.
that. So we're sitting in his room, and I remember him like calling the girl that he was cheating on me with, because he had no respect for me. He didn't
Yeah.
care. And so he's like literally on the phone with her while I'm sitting right there in his face. And then I remember grabbing the phone. I'm like, "You're not going to talk to her in my face. Like, that's, it's
Right.
disrespectful." And so I remember him hanging the phone up, and he goes, "You know what? So she's on her period right now, so you gonna take care of me." And so I was still kind of confused, real like just didn't understand what he was saying. And I remember I got up and he was about to grab the phone again to call the girl back, and I grabbed the phone. He yanked the phone out of my hand, and I don't like. I feel like I went in and out a little bit because I don't remember how I got from his room to his mom's room. I don't know if he dragged me. I can't remember. And I remember I was on the floor, and I remember this day because my mom had just bought me a brand new outfit and mailed it down to my school. It was an olive green like cargo skirt and a cute little cream sweater. And I have like really curly hair, and at the time I remember I had my hair straightened at the time. And so I remember being in his mom's room, and I remember he had his hand like this, and he put it in my mouth and kind of like clenched my jaw to like it was like he was using that as a grip, and he forced my underwear down, and it was just like, "You're gonna give me some because she's on her period, so you're gonna give me some." And from there, I don't know if I blacked out. I don't remember like what exactly he did to kind of make me black out in and out, but I do remember after that moment, I walked into his mom's bathroom and I just looked at myself in the mirror. I had blood all over my new cream sweater. My hair was like all out of whack. I couldn't really think straight because my head was hurting real bad. And I remember the inside of my jaw, the meat inside there was just hanging from his grip. And he was standing behind me saying, "Cydni, Cydni," because I was going, and even though I was standing up looking in the mirror, I was still going in and out. And he was like, "Cydni, Cydni, Cydni, I love you. I'm so sorry. I won't ever do that again." And that's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really really tough moment,
Hmm.
and tough is an understatement. But that's
Hmm.
harrowing moment to have to deal with. And I always just like to throw some facts in here. So, according to blackburncenter.org, which is a place for black women in domestic violence, more than 40% of black women will experience domestic violence in their lifetime. And that's way too much, right? That's way,
Right,
way
right.
too much. And it says that about 54% of black women have had experience with psychological abuse, while 42% of black women have had experience with physical abuse. That's way too much. That's
Mm.
absolutely way too much. And,
Right.
I'm sorry that you had to be in that number. So again,
Hmm.
what kept you there? What
Scared, fear.
fear?
It was just fear. I didn't know what to do. I just felt like I was just in a very just, I don't know, just not a so good space. I was just outside of myself at the time. Again, like I was just so in a very, very depressed because at this point, my parents are divorced now, but it's still ugly. Like they still going back and forth with each other. And I'm just not used to that. So they just put me in like a very just bad place. I'm not focusing on my schoolwork, which was weird for me because I was never like that. And then I got the pastors telling me to, giving excuses for what he's doing and telling me to basically stick with it.
Um,
So I was just scared.
was there anybody who noticed what was going on and they said something to you out of a place of love? Not the pastor, not the pastor's wife, not any of those people who failed you, because that's what they did, right? They completely failed you.
Hmm.
So was there somebody who saw you, like maybe your sister or somebody who said, this isn't the Cydni I know? Was there anybody that saw the
Mm-mm.
difference?
I isolated myself. They kept me away from everybody. So no one really saw me.
Okay.
Like I wasn't going back home that much. So yeah, no one really
No
saw
one
me.
really got it.
I wasn't, going to any extracurricular this or that. Only thing I was doing, I was just going to church.
Gotcha. So when did you realize it was you'd had enough? It was time to go.
So it's weird because I've realized that a few times. So years passed, married them. And the marriage came from, I'll never forget that this day because I don't know where any of those pictures are, but I didn't smile on a wedding picture. I didn't eat anything at the reception. I remember like walking down the aisle and I didn't know what I wanted to run, but I didn't know what would happen if I did run. I was literally made to marry him by his brother, the pastor. I had to go buy the ring. I had to pay for the wedding, and it was more so. At the time, I remember I was working for AT&T at the time, so he can get on my benefits, and basically so I can legally take care of his brother. So I, at that point I was over it, but still did not know how to get out of it. The moment that I just knew I had to go, and I finally had the courage to leave, is my son, his first birthday. Me and him was sitting at, I think it was like Applebee's. We was sitting at Applebee's, and he was just doing his little baby talk, and I was just looking at him. It's just me and him. Don't know where my ex-husband was at the time, and it was something about that moment, and I was like, he's starting to talk, he's starting to see things. I have to go. And I remember I had my little old iPhone, and I was looking at the map, and I was like, where can I go? And at first I looked at Georgia. I was like, no, I'm not going to go to Atlanta because it's too close to Alabama. So it's too close for him to get to me if he wants to get to me. And I was like, where can I go? And it was literally me just putting my hand on the map in Orlando, Florida. Wow. In that moment, I remember the next day I called my mama. I was like, I got to go. At the time, at this point, everybody knew what was going on at this point. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I got to go. I said, I need you to keep Ethan just for a couple weeks, just so I can go down there and get a job. Yeah. Just a couple weeks. I got to go. 3 weeks after that, I remember October 4th, 2011, I got on the plane. My grandmama shipped my car down to Florida because she was worried about me driving by myself that way. But yeah, my grandmama shipped my car to Florida. I got on a plane, one-way plane ticket. Probably like 2 weeks later, I got the job. Same place I'm working to this day. I got a job. And maybe after a couple paychecks, I got my first apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. I mean, that's powerful in itself, right? Because you had to muster up the strength, not just for you, but for little Ethan to say, I can't do this anymore. It sounds like right. Ethan deserves better. Even if I don't feel like I deserve better, my baby deserves better than what I'm having to deal with here. And you found the courage to go ahead and start finding your freedom, right? That was the beginning of it. And, that's, so you mentioned that by this time your family knew, what were some of the things they said, or, what kind of happened there with them finding out?
So the way they found out, I think leading up to it, they knew something wasn't right. Because I remember when I had Ethan, while I was pregnant with Ethan, the abuse actually got worse when I got pregnant. Throughout me being pregnant, I was always the breadwinner in the house because, he won't do it with his money, whatever he won't do with his money. One of the 2 reasons why he would put his hands on me would be if I asked him to help me around the house, like financially, or if I found out that he was cheating on me. So at this point, I remember I was in and out the hospital all the time when I was pregnant. And I remember my mom was like, what's going on with you? Because my blood pressure was super high. I was always worried about working so much. The moment I found out I was pregnant, he goes part-time at his job. Don't know why. So now I have to work even harder. Sleeping with all these different women. So I would just be so stressed out, and I'm in and out the hospital, My mom was like, something's not right. And so I remember I ended up having Ethan a month before his due date. And I remember in that moment when I had Ethan, the day I had Ethan, one of my friends from high school died the exact same day that I had Ethan. So I just had like a mixture of emotions the day that Ethan was born. And I remember being in a hospital room and, all my friends and family in the hospital room. And then when it got like around, time for visitors to leave, my ex-husband left right with him. And I can remember being in that moment, being in that hospital room just by myself that night. And my mom was like, something isn't right. She would ask me like little questions here and there, and I would just ignore them. But then I remember it was like maybe 6 months later. So about 6 months later, I remember me, him, and Ethan were living in the basement of my cousin's house because, I couldn't work anymore because I was on my 6-week leave and I was at a new job. So I didn't have any, benefits. And basically we ended up getting evicted out of our apartment. So I remember coming home from work. I went to work too early, but I had to go to work. And so I remember coming home from work, and I was like, oh, we had one car. And I was like, my mom wants to see Ethan, so I'm going to take him to see Ethan. But he wanted the car to do, I don't know what he wanted to do. But I was like, no, my mom really wants to see Ethan. Alabama experiences all 4 seasons. It was super cold. It was the wintertime. super cold. I remember I had on a long sleeve shirt. I had a sweater on, like a hoodie on, and like a bubble
Yeah.
jacket. And you know how the basement, like the basement is like
Yeah.
cement, the basement floor. I remember because he wanted the keys from me so bad. He grabbed me, he picked me up, and threw me on the ground. He threw me so hard. No matter all those layers that I had on, my whole arm just busted like open with blood. And in that moment, I didn't even think. Normally, I'm thinking, and I don't call anybody. I just let it happen. Don't tell anyone. I immediately just called my mom,
Good. Good.
and that's how they all found
Good.
out.
Good. Absolutely good for you. I wish
Hmm.
you could have called like the feds in that
Hmm.
moment, and everybody just came and jumped on him. I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of you for in that moment
Thank you.
forgetting about him, right, and thinking about you
Hmm.
because what I have learned about domestic violence cases is at some point if you don't find your freedom, it pretty much means death. It's pretty much
Hmm.
no coming back from it at some point because they get progressively worse and worse and worse and worse. And when they feel like there's nobody stopping them, they keep escalating. So I'm very very happy for you. I'm proud of you in that
Hmm.
moment because you are here to be able to tell your story with
Hmm.
me because Lord, this earring is just not having it. That's all right, y'all. But
Hmm.
I'm very proud of you. So once your mom found out, was there a support system built around you with your mom and any other family members?
So yes, there was a support system, but the thing with being in an abusive
Mhm.
relationship, it's so easy to be manipulated to go back. And I feel like my situation is just a little bit different because I wasn't just being manipulated by my ex-husband. I was being manipulated by the pastor, his brother, our pastor. So that just made it even harder because, I would hear, every time you call the police, Cydni, you owe me bail money. Because, every time I call the police on him, he would go bail him out immediately. So even when I told them, I was still going back and forth, going back and forth because I would listen to what he would say to me, and just believe that. Like for so many years, he would tell me things about myself that I believed him. I'm just now getting to the point where certain things that he told me, I don't believe him anymore.
Good for you. And shame on that pastor,
Um,
because, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but I have been there before. I have been
mhm,
not in a domestic violence situation, but another a sexual abuse situation with a pastor in a church,
mhm,
and the head pastor was like, "Well, she's wrong." Not the pastor who
yeah,
is leading a
right.
flock of sheep that should not be doing this,
Mhm,
especially at the time I was a 16-year-old girl. He was trying to have sex with me, and I would not allow him to, essentially. Um,
mhm,
and it was the pastors around like, well, do you think maybe you wore the wrong thing? Do you
right.
think maybe you shouldn't have
Mhm,
said this? Or maybe do you think you said, no, shame on them.
right.
Shame on them. And I'm
Mhm,
glad that you got to the point to where you know that none of the things they said to you were true. None of them. You did not deserve
right.
what you went
Mhm,
through. He was wrong. And the pastor, in my mind, was even more wrong because
mhm,
he was enabling him, right? He needed to be in jail. That's where you put animals, behind bars, in
mhm,
cages. And he just
right.
wanted this wild animal to run free. So good for you that you are in your
Thank you.
healing and you know that none of that was true.
Mhm,
Um,
right.
you did tell us how you escaped. You came here to Florida. We're glad to have you. You sunshine to the Sunshine State. We are happy to have you.
Right.
So let's talk about when you got here. You're getting yourself together. You got your new job, your new place. What about your healing? How did you start on this path to healing?
So when I immediately got here, I haven't started on it yet. Still didn't really understand like even how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I was like self healing myself, which that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work. But
That's true.
so it probably wasn't until, let me see, maybe about 4 years ago. No, maybe about 5 years
Mm-hmm.
ago. Because when I moved down here, that was 2011, and maybe up until maybe 2016, my ex husband would maybe call me once a year. He'll contact me once a year. It was basically depending on who he was dating and what kind of point he was trying to prove. Um, and so in those moments where he would call me, I would immediately just get triggered. And but then like maybe some months have passed, he don't call me anymore, and I was like, oh, I'm healed. I'm not worried about him. But then he called me, I'm triggered, and so it just kept happening, and I realized like, and as it's happening, one of my comfort things I was eating, and so I started like gaining a lot of weight, and I'm like, something is wrong with me, like nothing, like some, like I don't know what this is, but I don't feel like just I can't focus. Like I'm super depressed at the time. I feel like I didn't understand like depression still at the time. So I back in like 2019, no 2018, I was like, I want to file for child support. However, I'm scared because I've always been threatened by him and his brother that I better not file for child support because if I do, they're gonna give me hell. And they would say, if you don't file for child support, we don't care about seeing Ethan. But if you do, we're going to give you hell. So I would never do it. But 2019, like, well, no, 2018, I was like, I'm going to do it. I feel like I'm okay. I'm going to do it. So the moment, I'll never forget, I went down there, I filled out the paperwork and everything. And maybe about a week, like the moment I filled out the paperwork, I got like a sense of fear just came over me because I started remembering those words. And I remember like a week later, I went back up there and I said, never mind, basically. And so maybe a year later, I was like, you know what? I feel like I started therapy. And so I thought I was feeling good and I thought I could conquer it. At this time, my ex-husband, like he's remarried. I had to deal with, I still was dealing with him because there's a false narrative that, they told the church and the congregation of why I left Alabama. So that's kind of a battle that I actually still face to this day because that's a narrative that his wife believes. That's a narrative that certain people in the congregation believe. And to this day, they still come to me.
That's so, okay. That's okay, honey. Let them think what they want to believe. And as long as it's over, K. Michelle made a whole, not K. Michelle,
right.
Michelle made a whole song about it. I don't care what you tell people. I'm gone. It's done. Tell them what you want to. I'm gone. That's right.
And that's actually what I'm working on now, though. But it wasn't up until after I filed for child support, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. And the moment that it all went into action, like he got served or whatever, is when I knew I had to really, really start my healing journey because I felt myself walking in fear every day when I went to work. I felt myself always like looking over my shoulder. And so I found this bomb therapist. She's so amazing. And like we have been doing the work since I've been in this court case has lasted. It's still not over. It has lasted 2 years because let me say he's sticking true to his word that they're gonna do anything to give me hell about this, and they have pulled out all the stops.
They usually do.
And because yeah, so right now, it's not the physical abuse no more. Now, right now, they're just trying to abuse me with money and so the power that they think they have. And so right now, like I go to therapy once a week, sometimes twice a week if I can. There's certain things I do now. Like I had to give myself a bedtime because I was up all night, like just with my mind racing all the time. And so I gave myself a bedtime. I go to bed at 9:30 every night now. I wake up at 5 o'clock every morning and I meditate for 30 minutes and I go to boxing class at 6 o'clock in the morning. I do that about 3 days a week. So I am very intentional about my healing because I just don't want to, on Wednesday, this upcoming Wednesday, I'll be turning 39 years old. And so I just want to like live my life and I don't want to like live in fear anymore. So I have become so serious about my healing journey.
So proud of you.
So yeah.
I love therapy. This comes out every single show because I want more Black women and men to go to therapy. We all need some therapy. I don't care how extreme you think your story was, your situation. Therapy is for everybody. It's for everybody. I'm so proud of you because I I've never been in that type of
Mhm.
situation, but I can only imagine how hard it is to pick yourself up,
Mhm.
to take this big leap and say, now I gotta relive the things that I've lived. I gotta do it all over again
Mhm.
just to be able to heal from it. And that's a very
Mhm.
huge step. And my hat's off to you. I'm super proud of you.
Mhm.
Keep going. Keep going.
Oh
Keep
yes.
going. I'm so glad you found a great therapist. I always tell people, if therapist number one don't work out, keep looking. It's just like a doctor.
Look, this is like my sixth therapist, and it's like I finally found the one. I'm like, yes.
Sometimes I found my girl, and now we
Yes.
thick as thieves. I say, at some point,
Yes.
you just gonna be my home girl, not my therapist anymore, because you know too much about me.
Yes.
I'm so very proud of you. That is that is
Yeah.
amazing. So, what you're saying is, go get therapy, y'all. You backing me up
Yeah,
on this. Go
and
get therapy.
get your get your kids therapy. Ethan's been in therapy since he's been 4 years old.
Oh,
So not just you, your whole household needs to be in
everybody
therapy.
needs to be in
I need to put
therapy.
the dog in
That's right.
therapy at this point.
They be going crazy. That's right. So, as we come to a close here, what
Mhm.
advice would you give another young woman who finds herself in the shoes you were once in an abusive relationship?
One thing I would say, something I think I wish would have been told to me is you're worthy.
Come on.
You're worthy to be
Yep.
respected. Like you don't have to be in those situations. Like you're worthy. Like just those words has really helped me. That's actually part of my meditation every day. Like you're worthy to be
Yep.
respected. You're
Yep.
chosen. You don't deserve it.
Absolutely.
And so, and find you something like just find if I would have had that one person. And I feel like I had those people around me, but I just was like nervous to tell
Yeah.
them. Like it's just okay. Like just leave before it gets worse. Because 9 times out of 10, it gets
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah.
And then once you get out, you get the help that you need, and you keep going. There are so many resources out
Yes.
there, so many that people don't know about. I found every resource when I moved here. There's money out there that they give people in these situations to relocate.
Absolutely.
Um, you do not have to be stuck in the same situation. I went from moving here with $100 in my pocket from a hotel to a one-bedroom apartment to another one-bedroom apartment and to a two-bedroom apartment to last year I just built my own house for me and my son. So
Oh,
you can do it.
oh,
So you don't ever let anybody say
yes.
don't
I'm
ever let nobody
inspired. So you
say
are in a loving, happy relationship now?
I I am.
Yes.
I
I see
am.
your
I
Instagram and I love the big smiles. I love the love that I feel like radiates through those pictures. So yeah, let's talk
I
about
am.
how you were able to find love after all of this. Let's dive into
Let
that.
me tell you about Alan. I call Alan, his nickname to me is home
Oh,
because he literally makes me feel like I'm at home. Like I like prior to Alan, like I dated here and there. And then some people I was dating, I was still dating basically my ex-husband. Prior to my ex-husband, I never did a lot of dating prior to my ex-husband. So dating was kind of new to me. It really wasn't until 20 pandemic with a pandemic relationship to I feel like I was just sitting still. I don't know if it was me just being in a still moment where I was really just kind of working on myself and realizing like what is it that I was maybe bringing to certain tables, because I don't think it was always the other person I was dating. I can take accountability for maybe what I was bringing to the table, or looking at other men like they were my ex-husband and they didn't deserve probably half of what they got from
yeah.
me. But here comes Alan. And I have finally been in a place where I was able to receive the man that God had for me. And it's so like I still have to like pinch myself because it's so like just perfect. And well, it's not perfect, but he's perfect
Yeah,
for
there
me.
you go.
And I mean, he's so like just intentional with me. He's intentional with Ethan. I mean, to the point where he's gonna start going to therapy sessions with me to just kind of figure out
Black
like
man.
he's 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 very into like you know understanding my
Yeah.
trauma. And so he's already we've already gotten that schedule where he's gonna start going to the therapy sessions with me so he can understand maybe how I react, and like to me that just says a
It
lot.
does.
But Yes. So I just knew. I think when I met Alan, it wasn't but a couple weeks before I just knew. I just felt safe, and that was the first
Yeah.
time, other than like my father, that I felt safe around a man. So I always call him home.
So, ladies, what I hear is, even though that guy might be telling you nobody will love you the way he loves you, and that's one of the things
Mhm.
that keeps you probably there. That's not true.
Mhm.
There's love after that. God still has a
Yes.
great love, a place
Mhm.
called home for you. I love that you call
Home.
him home.
Mhm.
Listen, that
Yes.
just, oh, listen, I love a good
It's, look.
triumph story. I'm so proud of you. I'm
Mhm.
so happy to
Thank
have
you.
you here with me to be
Mhm.
able to share your story.
Mhm.
Gift of Gab, I want the women like such as yourself that come on here and share these stories. I want you to be able to impact the lives of others, right? Because some lady might need to hear this, and I cannot express to you how thankful I am that you found the space to be able to share,
Mhm.
such a dark time in your life with me. And I'm happy you were also
Mhm.
able to share the joy that you are now experiencing.
Mhm.
That means so much to me. And before we go, I just want to drop a few things. There is help for domestic violence. If
Mhm.
you are experiencing any type of domestic violence, I know here in Florida you can call like 211 and there are resources there, but there is also a hotline, 1-800-799-SAFE, 1-800-799-7233. You can chat, you can text. There's even a way for you to this area is not having it. There's even a way for you to contact them with there's like another way, because what they understand is that some people are, they go so low that they will be tracking your internet or your phone calls. So if you go
Mhm.
to, it's called the hotline.org, it will give you other ways to get in touch with assistance, so that you can make sure that you're covering your tracks along the way. Ladies and men, because there are men out there who are affected by domestic
Mhm.
violence, get out. When you find your exit, and I know that's easier said than done, but get out. Get the help that is out there for you. Like Miss Cydni said, find that person that you can talk to. Get out. Find a way to get out. And if not for you, for your babies, find a reason. Find a reason to go
Mhm.
and find your home. So Miss Cydni, before we go, let the people know where they can
Mhm.
find you, how they can get in touch with you, hear more about your story, anything you have coming up, books, anything. Let them know.
All right. So I am a blogger. I do have a blog. It's the Rebirth of
Okay.
Cydni. On there, I just talk like I just whatever's on my mind. I am speaking about it's intriguing. You do have some dark stories on there, but then there's so many uplifting stories on there as well. You can also find me at Miss Cydni. I'm also a upcoming stylist, and also on Instagram, you can find me on Sid Styles.
Come on. Yes, you gotta thrive. This ain't even a story of survival. This is thriving, and I love it. Y'all,
Right.
thank y'all so much for tuning in to the Gift of Gab. Excuse my earring, it was just not having it today. But I love y'all. I thank y'all for tuning in, and take care of yourselves and take care of each other. I love y'all. Bye.